G'day. It's time to down your unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 203 of the Art of War Down Under podcast. My name is always Adam Camilleri. You may have heard a new intro to this show. If it's not this week, hopefully it is next week, and we maybe have a new outro as well. But I am joined by Alex Iglesias. He is one of the foremost Admech players in the world, and when I say foremost, I mean like he's top 3 out of like 9.
Yeah. It's like I was going to say, like one of the few that are actually in there. We only have, it's pretty bad.
Very tight knit crew, and one of the, a member of the Australian community, has coached for WTC in the past, and I brought him on because we're going to review the changes to Admech. This is the Admech Revisited episode because they are essentially completely reborn and revamped, akin to what Drakari got in the Sky Splinter Force, but then some, like legitimately, and then some. Admech has been completely redone. As always, 2-part podcast. Come and join us over on the Patreon page, Art of War Down Under, over on Patreon. And we're going to be answering a bunch of questions over on the part 2. But Alex, you have some things you can spruik and plug. So feel free to fire off, mate.
Oh, mate, putting me on the spot. Look, not really anything to plug. I mean, this has been a really exciting time for Admech players. But I think like nearly everyone in the community right now is just like absolutely bonkers. Quick shout out to this podcast as well, obviously, because you are like covering nearly every single faction here and trying to get everyone across it. Art of War, as always. I do some coaching there, but I'm on Discord being an absolute menace. So if anyone wants to tag me or message on that Discord, feel free to. And just happy to be here and talk about these Robo Boys.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted you to plug, because if you wanted to get some coaching, or if you're a brand new Admech head and you want to get up to speed with the binary, go and grab some coaching from Alex himself, and you'll get up to date faster than most. But suffice to say, it's almost a whole page of the balanced data slate was dedicated to the Admech changes. We did eschew them when we did the main review because they were so extensive and holistic, they warranted their own episode. So pretty much I'm going to be reading out the changes, and me and Alex are going to be discussing the things. I've actually had a couple of games against Admech now, and I've felt some of the new power that they wield, especially in melee. Like straight up, they actually like don't just scratch the paint in melee; they actually kill stuff, which is very, very, very cool. But for those following at home, crack open your balanced data slate, page 2, if you want to get involved and read along with us. I'll also be discussing the points after this, and then I'll be heading over to part 2 and giving you the goodness. Our Patreon questions are pretty extensive. But yes, Admech Army Rule. The Doctor Imperative, Army Rule, Protector Imperative, and Conqueror Imperatives changed too. The first dot point hasn't changed, but the second dot point now reads: improve the ballistic characteristic of weapons equipped by models in this unit by 1, and each time a melee attack targets this unit, it was within 6 of a unit with the battle line keyword, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So -1 to hit there. And then we'll just do Conqueror as well and strap them together, which is improve the weapon skill characteristic of melee weapons in this unit by 1. And each time this unit makes an attack, if it is within 6 of a battle line keyword unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1 also. So now you have, it didn't used to ever be a choice. You picked Conqueror at the start, and you stayed in Conqueror for the entire game. They're hoping to try and make a bit of a delineation here. Tell us about these changes, mate. How big are they, and what do you think of them?
Massive. Look, Admech's identity previously was, like you said, Conqueror Imperative, and what we tried to do and achieve was actually move blocking and keeping the enemy back in the deployment zone, because that was the only way we were able to achieve an AP characteristic increase by 1. Now it's just a proximity-based effect, means that we have much better play once the game hits later into the levels of turn 1. As an example, because the enemy in mid now can actually get damaged a lot more effectively. Your Skitari guys, that already ignore cover and have anti-infantry 4+ now just have baked in AP 1 always while you're within Conqueror is absolutely massive. Your, las cannons being AP 4 to combat things like AOC is huge, and it works out well. On the flip side, you have then the other one being insanely, I guess, potent for actually just making sure that your shooting does have a great hit rate. Hitting on 3s, as an example, with, say, 3 las chickens, and we'll talk more about their changes pretty soon. But them going from 3 shots to 6 shots with still keeping sustained hits and hitting on 3s means they get an average of 5 hits out of 6, which is huge for output. And having things like that will help her go a long way. Not only that, some armies really hate the subtracting 1 from hit rolls in melee. As an example, World Eaters or anything like that, where their math is really important. You can really dwindle them and kind of change the tides, especially when we are an army that typically has 5-up invulns, has access to 5-up Field of Pains, has access to neg 1 a wound, has access to even 4-up Field of Pains. So we work out to be in a much better spot for that, alongside other things like 2-up saves and things like that too. So realistically, they're both really good. I think there is still a conceptual list design thing that you can do, where you have a preference during list creation, and how you're going to be handling it. However, though, I think there is a bit of flex that you can still do. Some people obviously just think Conqueror straight away, and they think, look, I love the AP. Now I guess I need to just run a whole bunch of melee units and 1,000 points of that. You don't really need to, but it is definitely it's an exciting time. The build and list variety now, just from this change alone, regardless of anything else, is huge.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Whilst I do think it was like 97% Conqueror to Protector in my experience previously. It's not quite 50-50. It's more like probably 70-30, 60-40 Conqueror to Protector. But the fact that you even have that is a vast improvement, right?
I just went undefeated this weekend with a Protector only build, and it was
wow, whoop-de-doo, Alex.
It's the silliest thing though. You just have so many crazy things. I was just running a dumb Unga Bunga list, cool, here's 12 chickens, here's 2 or 3, 2 disintegrators as well on Cawl. And then I just got a bunch of little MSU running around doing stupid actions.
That's exactly right. That was a damage build from Admech was not an option previously. No. Straight up, you couldn't do it. You could not build a list that was going to blow somebody up. I, as a Marine player, in the couple of games I'd played previously against Admech, could just walk at them. And just armor contempt when they're one good damaging unit. Usually it was a max unit of breaches with all the buffs. I'm like, armor contempt. I'm just like, oh, don't care, mate. Go nuts. It's not a thing.
81, and you're in cover. Great.
Whoop-de-doo. But now things are getting quite fearsome out there, and I do think it's really exciting. And the fact that, oh man, they had to give 3 dot points to each one of these to make them good is pretty funny. I find it quite funny. To just signal post, we're trying really hard here to make this an interesting choice. So we're going to give each one of these 3 dot points. When, like other armies, you get a single dot point, and it's usually not that good.
I just want to say that it's probably a good thing that they changed the Protector secondary effect from being AOC to neg 1 a hit in melee. Correct. Because if we had AOC, I would just be spamming that shit nonstop. Can you imagine Castellan robots just running around with AOC the whole time?
Well, dude, you're just pseudo Necrons at that point. You're just lolling around, being like a durability check yourself. So I think that's definitely for the best. Data sheets, add faction, doctor, and predative ability sections following data sheets. So it's all the ones that didn't have it. So essentially, Cawl
everything except the bots.
Or everything except the bots who get it via a detachment. Should you want to take that detachment? And so, this is pretty good, because that was one of the biggest criticisms was they brought out Adeptus Mechanicus Codex that had an army rule that didn't affect half the book and almost invalidated half the book almost straight away. Is that how you saw it as well?
Mate, 100%. And meanwhile, we had things like Gretchen being able to get the WAR. It was just so warped to me. But so this is a much better change. And you know what? It improves the viability of all these units. Corvus Gari getting AP, and while also being able to shoot in combat because they have pistols anyway, it feels really good. Their melee also then gets an additional benefit from that too. They're hitting on 3s and they're getting AP in their melee. They're double sustain. They're strength 5, double sustain. They just blend. Fulgurites feel really good with this because now they can be strength 7, AP 2 damage, which is a great profile. While hitting on 2s, by the way. So they end up being better than Custodian Guard for cheaper, which is funny. But we'll talk about that later. But everything is great. Everything just feels really good.
Yeah, exactly right. This is just literally adding like a quarter of the units in the book and giving them viability. We're going to talk about Cawl for a little bit because there is quite a bit to talk about Cawl here. So first and foremost, changed his movement characteristic to 8. His mantra of discipline ability, which is changed to this model has the battle line keyword. So one of the 3 auras that he gets to pick now gives him battle line. So he can now trigger a phenomenal amount of effects for your army. And then the Binharic Courage aura. While friendly Adeptus Mechanicus units within 6 of this model, each time you take a battle shock test or leadership test, add 1 to that test. Whoop-de-doo on that one. But the rest of it is really good. And I got to say, the fact now that Cawl can go through walls as well is another really nice change. How are you feeling about old Spidery boy himself?
It's pretty good, man. Like I've had a lot of fun with him. I don't think he's like needed in every single list, but when you do play him, he's great fun. The battle line thing comes up surprisingly in more interesting ways than you would think. As an example, let's say the enemy picks a secret mission, and you assume it might be the the one where they have battle line go in your deployment zone. They've killed all your battle line. You can just turn him into battle line and be in the middle, and then all of a sudden they don't get 20 points.
Dude, it's actually kind of sweet, isn't it? Yeah,
it's insane. The other day, yesterday, as an example as well, the secondary mission effect was that you could go to ground or heroic for free with battle line. So I just made him battle line and heroic everywhere.
That's actually amazing.
And he has up to 20 attacks in melee, so you're just like, yeah, cool. Yeah. See ya.
And battle line advancing and doing actions, falling back and doing actions.
He did that as well the second game. I got value out of him every single time from him being battle line. I advanced, got to the enemy's deployment zone by Kool-Aid manning through a building and did an action, and then bam, nobody's going to be able to take him out. You can even put something else next to him and he's blown up again.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's got it's only 3. You have to be within 3 inches for his loan up, but it's huge. On him, it's so huge now. And now he's movement 8 as well. He can keep up and get into the fight and actually use a lot of his freaking damage dealing abilities. Because he was just like anemic before. He was just so not worth taking, because if you just misdeployed him, he was out of the game. Completely out of the game. He's also very cheap. And we'll talk about the points later, but man, he's cheap for the amount of buffs that he brings. All right. Ironstrider Belisarius ranged weapons. Twin Cognis autocannon is 4 shots now. It's with sustained hits 1 instead of twin linked, and the las cannon is now 2 shots with sustained hits 1 instead of twin linked. Which people were saying, this is a bit of a side grade. Shut up. This is an upgrade. This is so much freaking better. The ceiling of damage potential has doubled. All right. The consistency, you can say whatever you want about it, but the fact is that the ceiling went up. 100% this is an upgrade. What do you think, mate?
100%. Like people aren't assuming, I guess, that maybe you didn't have sustained hits anymore, but the fact that we still keep that means that we have twice as many chances to get 6s, which gets us then more shots again on top of that. And when you're already at good profiles like strength 9 or strength 12, you don't really care, about the wound rerolls like twin linked. This is much better, better for the unit as well, because like you said, that ceiling for maximum output is just crazy. I mean, the fact that, put it this way, Belisarius already have a really good mobility, everything else, range, blah, blah, blah. If anyone tries to get near them to try and pressure them, and let's say they're a fairly durable thing, like a Redemptor Dreadnought, for a random example, right? There's nothing stopping you from overwatching, rolling this. Now, on overages, you actually get 2 hits through with Overwatch, because you get 1/6, which is 2 hits.
With a unit of 3,
Yeah, with a unit of 3. And you just do that and, try and get the wound, take them out, do a bit of damage, maybe even wipe them. Like, the potential there is actually wild. And at the end of that, roll a dice on 5+, you've spent 0 CP.
Correct. You're exactly right. And you got so many little things built in here, so many little cherries on top of what are now good units. Before it was like, why do I want this buff on this unit I don't care about? Like, it didn't make any sense. Is there any argument to be made for the autocannons? You can get them to AP2 next to battle line. You can
make them AP3 technically.
Exactly right. You can make them AP3.
If you run Hunter Overlord, you can make them AP3 3 damage, which is pretty nice.
So
but at the moment, for me, I'm just enjoying too much of the anti-tank. I think we don't really have like a huge amount of anti-tank platforms, and funny enough, all the anti-tank platforms got buffed. But I feel like that's a better point right now for us to have a good solid output. Because the rest of our list has ways to get strength 5 to strength 7 or even strength 8 attacks, and that feels okay to still push out these other more elite units.
All right, the Scorpius disintegrators range weapons. The Ferrum cannon, which is the not indirect one, is changed to D6 +1 damage with 3 shots at strength 12 AP3. I don't think I've seen a sort of Scorpius disintegrator this edition. Are you going to see it now?
I was running them before this, and I started running them again this weekend. They're great. They're a 2-up save, mobile tank platform that even in combat now, with the new changes to Protector Imperative, will hit a vehicle on 2s, even if you're stuck in combat.
Nice.
because they
that's
already
nice.
get +1 to hit those monsters and vehicles. So they have 6 anti-tank shots as well because they have another 3 missiles after this, which are also twin-linked, so they're very consistent. And for your trouble, you can still get up to 18 stubber shots for some anti-horde chaff clearing. And now that you can get that to be AP1, they feel very, very nice. They only went up 5 points. So spoiler alert for later, but they're really good.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome to see because I thought they were in nowhere, like in nothing down because I just didn't have any play. All right, Scorpion Infiltrator. So Scorpion, Sicarian Infiltrators melee weapons. Pretty much just their power weapons changed to 3 attacks rather than 2, and the taser goads changed to 3 rather than 2 as well. Still with sustained hits 2. Both just +1 attack essentially. How do you feel about the Infiltrators? I've seen them, but I've never seen people trying to do damage with them this edition. They just use the uppy downy to try and just do their secondary play.
It was pretty grim. So as an example, it takes 88 dice for you to just roll. They're 50 shots in shooting. Then you're wounding on, so you get 25 hits because they're hitting on 4s. Then you roll those 25 hits, and you will get 11 wounds. And then those 11 dice the enemy will roll, and then you take about 3 or 4 damage. And so you'd use 88 dice just for 3 or 4 damage. So it felt very, very, very rough to actually even bother rolling that to to play that in the game, especially when you're talking multiple turns, multiple dice, and everything else in the list. So this feels good though. Like they can punch. They are a pretty efficient profile, especially when you think about them getting now +1 weapon skill and +1 AP within Conqueror.
Yeah, going AP3 or just AP1 in the right matchups on the taser goes is pretty significant.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you like these taken as 5s or 10s, or do you still just taking small squads and like do damage where you can, but mostly still just doing utility stuff?
Well, you would have seen me at last ATC. I ran 2 lots of 10, and I had them as these really annoying blocks where once the enemy got near me, they were, getting battle shocked for their trouble at -2 leadership on top of the -1 OC that they're already receiving. It was just really full on. Now I'm running them as 5s, just setting up the field. There's a reason for that because there is a undercover change that's not within this slate, but it's outside of this section, I should say, where previously we could redeploy after we knew who was going first.
Yeah.
Just box everyone in, and like we said before, we wanted to have +1 AP was only if they were in the deployment zone, so you wanted to keep them there, especially even more so than a regular army would. But now you redeploy beforehand, so you probably don't want to run big blocks and then just lose all these points. You just want to probably play them a bit more safe and passive. And I've noticed in my games that a lot more people are playing a bit more passive with their infiltrate. So
Yep. Good talk. All right, moving on to Rustalkers, who essentially got +1 attack and +1 strength on their transonic blades and transonic blades and core claw and the razor and core claw. So they're all pretty much hitting at strength 5 now, with +1 attack 3 instead of 4 now instead of 3 on the razors and 5 instead of 4 on the blades. This is like a gold star unit for me now. I played against 30 of these in a game, and I was just like, are you world eaters? Like, what is this 25-inch threat range you're pushing on me? This is it's ridiculous. So tell us about Rusties, because they feel like a real unit now.
They definitely are. They can definitely trade better. Like, they've gotten to the point now where they have better math than an assault intercessor squad attacking a unit on an objective, which is good because they're the same cost. And as an added benefit, they also have the ability to generate devastating wins, which means they can now punch up better than, say, an assault intercessor squad into tougher targets as well. So they end up being this really good flex unit. They have a few interesting things. Obviously, they're 40 mil bases, so getting all 10 in sometimes can be a hassle. But using them for then flexible move blocks or anything else, or just even the threat range, and like having that as a threat for the enemy, so they understand where they need to be respectful, is very good. I think they're great. I don't know if they're exactly S tier. I think you can build lists without them, which is what I classify S tier as just mandatory no matter what. There's only like 3 units that are mandatory in my opinion, but these are definitely an A tier unit, and depending on how you do your points, because we are pretty CP starved in all this, depending on how you create your list design and what's going to be using CP, these guys are a great candidate for your CP usage. So as long as you're going light on the other things that need to burn that, these are
I'm assuming you're of the same opinion as me. It's transonic blades all day, every day, unless you have a really good reason not to.
I agree.
Dead wings is just too good. When you throw in
on math, I've worked it out. It actually works out better into everything except for aberrants. So It's good.
The transonic blades did.
So the razors are only better into things like aberrants, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Math wise, the blades just work out better every time.
So shoot the aberrants. Don't punch.
Yeah, you got anti-infantry 4+ shooting. Just go crazy.
Exactly. Go nuts. You actually, just let the Rangers take care of it. All right,
aberrants, the meta choice in GSC, right? Like, they're such a fun army. Yeah.
No, definitely take the transonic razors and tech for the worst army in the game. Definitely do that. 100 times out of 100. Onager Dooncrawler ranged weapons of pretty much all 4 choices have seen an increase. And they're all pretty good. Although the first one they listed here, the Delatis missile launcher, is the only one that doesn't have any red on it. So now it's
the attacks went up 1.
2 attacks. Yeah. Easy done. The Eradication Beamer has got 2d3 shots on its dispersed and focused shots, regardless of which is now 2d3 with blast and sustain hits d3. I'd say that's both strength 9. It's either AP2 or AP3, damage 2 or damage 3. So it's pretty much just a really good plasma cannon with 2d6 shots. Neutron laser is now heavy and has d6 plus 2 with its 3 shots instead of having what I believe was 2 shots. And was it just d6
D3
before? Or was it d6 plus?
No, it was just D3 blasts before,
So lost the blast, but just always having 3 shots now is very nice. And the heavy phosphor blaster went to freaking 12 shots from
instead of 4.
I was about to say it was 4 before, so we freaking tripled in shots with ignores cover and twin linked at strength 6 -1 2 damage. So the Onager got
insane as well.
Dude, it's huge actually. Yeah, I actually really like it. I really like it because you get the AP2 ignores cover, twin linked. It's kind of good. It's kind of really good.
It works out like a Venom crawler, right? Like it's pretty cool to have.
Well, to me, it feels more like an Avenger Gatling on a big night.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, with the twin link, you're putting it over the top.
Now, I will say there is a undercover buff as well that the Dooncrawler received, which isn't on here. They can now move through walls that are less than 4 inches and hide again. It's back on their data sheet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. That's actually a good quality of life because they're on the 100 mil round, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's 5 inches long and wide. And so now if you're running on a typical, let's say, WTC base for their ruins, as long as you get a 2-inch advance, you can make it past the wall now. And then just make some shots, which is really cool. Yeah. If you're in Conqueror, obviously, if you have assault, but
yeah, it's a difference between shooting and not shooting, which is a good difference. It's a strong difference right there. How good is the Onager now?
Pretty good. Look, I have a bit of a gripe with it. It's more around the points, so I might save that for later. But as a data sheet as a whole, you look at it and you can get definitely excited.
Which guns get you the most excited, or which outfit?
Realistically, it's the phosphor or the neutron. I think the phosphor just seems really good, and into so many matchups, it can be a really good flex. The neutron obviously punches ridiculously hard, and being able to be up to AP5 means that these armies that have, let's say, Marines, Iron Land Raiders, like you can AOC that still, but it doesn't matter. You're still taking a bad save.
Yeah, correct. The Eradication Beamer for me feels awkward because the good shot, the one you want to use, is only 18 inches. So you're going to find yourself, for the sake of safety, taking the dissipated shot, which is only AP2. So cover in AOC means they're just taking 3 ups or 2 ups. So I see some problems with the Eradication Beamer. I want to like it. I don't understand why the focused is less range. It may make it the same range in hazardous. Who cares? I
would have loved if this had that conversion rule. When you get like a hit plus and 4+. It's just a sustained hit 1. That would have felt a lot better, like how these other armies are. And then maybe the focus is okay. It's whatever. But look, not to discount it, obviously getting AP4 or AP3 on the dissipated, because just for free, just by being within proximity is really good. At the same time, he's also then protecting the battle line because he gives a 4-up invuln to those battle lines.
Yes.
So, not too bad.
I do love the idea of 2 either neutron laser or 2 or 2 heavy phosphor Onagers either walking up the board with 1 unit of Vanguard strung between them, and or sitting at the back, straddling a home objective with 2 firing lanes with 2 neutron laser ones. I like the Onagers, but like you said, they're a little unpalatable. Not that I think they're overcosted; they're probably accurately costed. And we're going to transition to talking about points because they're 160. And you think that's too many? It's only 10 points more than a Predator. It comes with an invuln.
I think for me, it's I think it's in relation to everything else, right? So I think previously they were probably worth being 110, 115 points, but they were 130. I think a 30-point increase from what they got plus the Doctriners is really good, but they're probably at being 160 right now when you could just get a Scorpius disintegrator at 175 just feels like you probably just go for the disintegrator. It's easier to hide, it's easier to move, it's easier to do everything really. And it does
armor save
have
as well, right?
6 anti-tank shots. Yeah, it's still 2
Yeah.
up armor save. Has more wounds as well. Same toughness. So yeah.
Yeah, so 15 points for a better chassis, more shots. Yeah, fair. I mean, my biggest criticism of the Onager has always been the lack of gun. In a game where it feels like they're just slapping guns on every available place on things. Like you look at every Primaris tank, they come with 19,000 guns, and this guy's got one.
One plus a stubber. That's it.
I
And
don't
even
care.
then, the disintegrator has triple the stubbers.
Did you say a word? I didn't hear anything just then because I don't think it's not worth registering that as a gun on a 160 point profile. Like
no, I agree. Yeah.
That is not a secondary weapon. A Predator has 2, like a hunter killer and 2 heavy bolters or 2 las cannons as its secondary weapons. A heavy stubber does not touch the freaking sides.
No.
Yeah,
no, hey, it has to stand its one. Come on, no, I'm kidding.
I'm with you though. Now that you said that about the disintegrator, the fact that it has more wounds, a better save, and just more gun, 100% 15 points. If you were thinking about if you were being very savage with yourself and trying to make a strong list, you would just do it, right?
Yeah, and in the argument where people like it's great for giving the invuln, I would argue that it's only slightly cheaper than running 20 more Skitari, which is better than +1 to an invuln save.
20 more points with a 5-up. Yeah,
especially with battle line is so important in the game, but even more important for Admech more than any other army, right? Because of proximity to what we need to enable ourselves between data sheet abilities, which get better within proximity, but then also doctriners now.
I do love this new, like, everyone, it feels very 8th edition-y, like Admech does. Did you play 8th?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But that was the heyday of people were running 12 bots standing still with Cawl. Yeah.
Yes. But the whole game was aura management, baby.
Yeah.
It's like aura management 101. I used to have people bringing templates with them, and they would move units just on like templates to make sure everything stayed in the same auras and all this stuff. And it really feels like that's what they're capturing with Admech now. All right. We're going to delve deep into the points. The first of which, I don't know how much this stuff went up. You're going to tell me. But all 3 of the flyers went up. 160 for the Fulizave, 185 for the Stratoraptor, and 150 for the Transvector. Any of those touching the sides? Any of those anywhere near takeable?
No, not really. They all went up 10 points. I don't think they're worth playing right now. They're fine. Like they're not even that fine. Like 185 for a platform that has just 1 las cannon shot. It's still twin linked. It isn't the same as the Belisarius one. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And the Fusilier for some reason got nerfs at the Codex time anyway. But they're just not that good. And like I said, that word that you don't hear, stubbers, is all they have.
Yeah. So I do hear stubbers. I just don't hear it as a legitimate contender for like a secondary weapon on a battle tank-esque platform.
Yeah, I agree. And put it this way, like that Stratoraptor, both ends, right? It had a twin phosphor blaster, which didn't get changed, and it had a twin Cognis las cannon, which didn't get changed. The 2 units that did get those changes were obviously the Dune Crawler as well as the Belisarius. These guys are just forgotten.
It's just obvious that Games Workshop does not want flyers to be good this edition.
That's it.
They're trying very hard, and I'm down with that. I'm down with flyers not being good. Let's not go back in that direction. Even though my 3 of each Dark Talon and Nephilim Jetfighters in my Dark Angels list are both crying right now. Belisarius Cawl stayed at 150 and got like 100% better. I think at 150 definitely. For what he brings is fantastic. I'm with you. Don't believe he's auto take, but he's very palatable for the points.
I agree, 100%. He feels really good to play and really satisfying. And you'll be surprised on I think raw feeling, you might not think that he's going to get a lot of play once you play him and how flexible he is. But then once you start seeing the game, and you go, oh, Battleline gives you this, Battleline gives you that, or people have secret missions, and you want to have an extra battle line when they remove things, and you can see their play. You can easily just pivot and just boom, he's battle line.
He still just has a real ones option as well, yeah.
Yeah, which is great. You do that early game, and then late game you pivot to battle line.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially if you're possibly running low on battle line by that point. Corpus Scari and Fulgurites both went up. There's 70 points and 75 points respectively for 5, 40 and 50 points respectively. How much did they go up, and how takeable do you think they are now?
Corpuscari went up 10 points per 5. Fulgurites went up, I believe, just 5 points per 5. So Fulgurites are amazing, actually. If you put them in Data Sum, they actually end up being point for point some of the highest output in the entire game right now,
Wow,
which
okay.
is crazy to say. But when you think of it as 30 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 7, AP 2 damage, 1 CP, you can make them +1 to wound. They also have devastating wounds for free. On top of that, they can get fights first. They can get fight on death. They're neg 1 to wounds. It takes 99. It takes 99 strength 5, AP 5, weapon skill 3 or ballistic skill 3, damage 1 attacks just to kill the 10 Fulgurites.
Wow. You and those
So
math numbers, mate. That's impressive.
I've worked it out. Yeah, they end up being really good. Obviously, mobility is a bit of an issue, but they can go in transports. If you play around the middle, use some horses to then reactive move to make the heroics a lot easier, then they're in a great spot.
Mate, total faction immersion by Alex right here. If you're gonna live and die by the binary, you got to know all the numbers, baby.
You got to know it all. You got to process this stuff beforehand.
Can't leave it to chance.
I was writing on my whiteboard, doing everything, sweating, getting all the numbers out, and then, whenever I'd feel disheartened, I'd look over on the side of my desk, and it just says, "Do it for Camilleri," and I'm like, "Okay, I got to do this."
I should sell those. I should make a merch. Do it for Camilleri.
Do it. I'll wear it. I'll wear a t-shirt, mate. We got this.
All right, let's start a Kickstarter. All right, Ironstrider, Belisarius went up 70 points each now, so 210 for the full pack of 3. And I'm a huge fan of 2x3 of Belisarius. 3x3 might be going a little bit too far down the rabbit hole. You start coming into logistical issues with how many bases, big ass bases you've got, assuming you have some other units in your army that also have big bases, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're of me. I think Belisarius are auto takes in Admech now. The number, though, I'm hearing is 6, and I think you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think 6 is good. I'm running 2x3 instead of 3x2, but it does require obviously more, careful movement and things like that. I think they're great though. They went up 20 points per model, which, let's be honest, I don't think anyone's upset about, because when you have to pay, $95 for a 50-point model, it feels a bit rough. Which is Admech as a whole, right? Like, I mean, even our planes, they've went up, but they were $180 or something like that for us. But anyway, Belisarius feel good. Yeah, they're potent. Like, put it this way: 3 models is 210 points. That's the same cost as a grand or a dreadnought. Sorry, just a regular dreadnought for DK. And it takes, generally speaking, if we're talking just shooting phase alone, because you might not be able to get everything into combat, from board state as a whole, right? But it takes 3 dreadnoughts generally to try and kill those 3 Belisarius, which means they're paying 630 points to take out 210, whereas it takes 3 Belisarius to generally take out 210 points of a dreadnought.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Castellan Robot's up next, one of the most either busted or untakeable units in the history of the modern game, the Castellan Robot. 2 models is 190, 380 for 4. That is a lot of points, especially seeing as they come with ubiquitous must-take support characters in order to be viable. So that 380 is a little bit deceptive because it blows out pretty quick.
Yeah, it ends up being actually, 415? They went up 5 points per model. So they didn't go up a huge amount. That being said, Doctrina's got really good for them.
They did. They're one of the biggest beneficiaries.
Yeah, so obviously if you run them in the detachment, they just become absolutely cracked. Because previously I already started running Cybernetica cohort, or we call it Psycho for fun. But we were running it, and you were running 8 bots, 3 disintegrators, like some dragoons, and just running like a Unga Bunga list with triple engine sears, because guess what, guys? Engine sears don't give +1 a hit. They give a 5 up field no pain, which is even better. Especially like go up save bloody bot, it feels really good. But this is similar to what we talked about. You remember how we were a bit excited, you and me, about the Cybernetica cohort detachment when we did the review? It has really good strats. Just use the strat suite on them, making a move 9 +1 to charge. Felt really good. Anyway, these guys already before that were 24 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 12, AP 2, 3 damage flat, twin linked. I'm just going to give you an example. If we reduce all that right now, even before, let's talk about now, actually. Now they get +1 weapon skill, they get +1 AP. Now you look at that and you compare 1 Redemptor Dreadnought, which is 190 points, 200 points, can't remember, versus 1 Castellan Robot, which is 85 points. No, sorry, 95 points.
95, yeah.
Yeah, 95 points. Both have six. Has one extra attack. The Castle and Rebel gets one extra attack. Both hit on 3s. Has AP3 and twin linked. They just end up one bot alone works out to be better than a whole ridden into Dreadnought. And you get 4 in a unit, so you're getting 24 attacks. It's just wild.
So you're down for the full melee. You just take the one gun flamer, shoulder mount, and then just send them.
Just I love it. Send, push them out. Really invasive unit. Even if the enemy is going to be charging you first, there's nothing stopping you from being able to go, cool, neg want to hit me in melee. And now they neg want to hit while 2-up save, while high toughness works out to be really good for their math.
Beautiful. All right, breaches and destroyers, 160 for 3 breaches, 105 for the destroyers who stay unchanged, that being 210 for 6 of the destroyers, 320 for the breaches, acknowledging that the breaches, I think, are another one of the massive beneficiaries of pretty much all the changes and everything. Breaches are just like the platform that does everything. It's one of the very few units in the entire faction that shoot and fight decently, if not good. And I think that their points now reflect that. How do you feel about breaches? Because I find them a little bit pricey for what they do.
The whole combo actually costs a lot, right? Like, you look at some army units that can be really good in isolation, like Belisarius for 210. They don't technically need anything near them to be a good unit. Breaches, though, they're 320. Plus, you want a character to give lethal hits, which is another 75. So you're about 400 points. Plus, then you need 90 points of Skitari. So it's about 500-point combo. That's without enhancements, just to make them enabled. I don't think it's worth it. As an example, 320. I'd rather have even just isolated without the extra characters or the extra Skitari. I'd rather save 110 points and get 3 Belisarius.
Yeah, I agree. I think 320 is too much for him, especially with I've played big units of breaches in previous editions. They're so logistically awkward to play. Their bases are goddamn gigantic, and you will find yourself messed up on turns. You'll find yourself, oh, cool, I bought a full unit of 6 breaches, and you spend 3 turns of the game shooting with 2 or 3 of them because they can't get all the way through a wall. It's so bad. It's so annoying.
And you want to get within rapid fire range as well, so it's even
more. You want to push him. You want to move him. They do take the advance. They do take assault really well, though. Anything good to say about destroyers for like 110 points less for the 6? Surely there's. I know
there's some interesting. Surely things, there's got to be. So because they're plasma, look, I wish they're plasma, which is bigger than the entire torso of a Inceptor, but for some reason their pistols 3
but
damage,
not as good as
but
not as good as a Hellblaster gun.
Look, they're. Yeah, it's a bit weird, right? But there is something to be said, right? There are 3 wounds when previously with Hazardous, they used to just instantly die. But now Hazardous is 3 devastating wounds or mortal wounds. If you have a Dominus, you have a 5-up Feel No Pain, so that makes them a bit more durable. But also the extra AP not being locked to deployment zone means that they're a lot more consistent. Means that their grav is a bit more consistent right there. Obviously, though, it's only going to be AP 2 damage. It's not going to be crazy good. It's, again, not as good. Their heavy grav cannon isn't as good as the marine grav cannon. But, Cawl has his favorites, and it's not the Admech. I think they're fine. But for the points that they are, points per wounds, they seem fine. I've struggled with them in my list, though, just purely because 6 of them, again, is 210 points. 3 Belisarius is 210 points.
Yep. All right, Onager Doom Crawlers, 160. We've already discussed them. Petraxi, Skystalkers stayed the same. The sterilizers went up. They're now 75 and 150. The Skystalkers are 65 and 130. So the sterilizers are, of course, the one everyone was taking with the Flamer, which was a very respective and very good, medium level damage output. Good Flamer, good Overwatch. And then when they charge, they got a couple of decent attacks each. You were huge on these when we did the Codex review. You said this was the S tier. Take 30. Don't be shit.
I did. I took 30. I ran the max amount with them plus some Skystalkers in my ATC list.
Yep.
And it was great fun. And back hurt a bit. It's a bit awkward to play. But even now, I think 10 to 20 is still good. If you're in Hunter Cohort, I think they're amazing because you can still uppy downy. And once the enemy just knows that, they either play around it and keep themselves back, which is a net positive for you, and they can just focus on staging and pushing the enemy back when they come forward instead. But if they do make those errors, you can actually pop in the back and then just take people out. So you don't have to move them too much. It's not that awkward. And you know what? Look, they lose out on one part. Obviously, they can't do the combo of, hey, get within 12 of me, I overwatch you, stay outside of 12, I loan up. Can't do that anymore, but they get AP1 now wherever they want, and their melee hits even harder with AP1 and +1 to hit. So they're pretty good.
Agreed. Service Raider stayed the same. Sulphur Hounds went up for unknown reasons. I've yet to see them played in a long time.
That's weird.
Yeah, nothing there. Infiltrators stayed the same. Ruststalkers went up to 75 and 150, and they are absolutely worth it. 15 points per model for what a Ruststalker brings is fan-freaking-tastic, in my opinion.
Yep. It was really weird when they were 60 points for 5. Like, I mean, that's way too cheap.
Way too
and
cheap.
Everyone was hoping they'd just go the other way and you just get buffed. And now they finally have. I don't think they're overcosted. I don't think they're undercosted. I think they feel fine at what they are with their points cost. You definitely, in list building, have a preference on Ruststalkers or Sterilizers generally. I'm going to be testing some more Ruststalkers now, and I've removed my birds just because I think people have gotten sick of me running them, to be fair, but I've gotten a bit bored of them too. They make the game a bit too trivial in a different way. I think they help me against not as experienced players, but they don't help me against really experienced players because they don't make the mistakes. We try Rusties who actually have a more guaranteed threat range and saturation. And go from there.
So we love a comparison so far on this show. Khorne Berserker runs you 18 points per model, 180 for 10. So 30 points more for the 10-pack over the Ruststalkers. They have the same, they have less attacks. They have one less attack that hits on 3s. It's strength 5, AP1, 1 damage. Of course, they'll have a couple of Eviscerators in there, but they don't have dev wounds. They don't have precision. They don't have the anti infantry that you can get. And they have one less AP. So there you go. Don't have an invuln. Same 2 wounds, one less toughness, of course, on the Ruststalkers. But I think that's hilarious that they're 30 points more. But apples and oranges shall persist as a meme in this program, especially. Sure. Rangers and Vanguard both went up. Is it 10 points? They're 85 and 90.
So Rangers went up 5. Vanguard went up. They went up. What were they? Rangers went up. God, I can't even remember now. No, Vanguard went up 10. Rangers went up 5.
Yeah, and now showing respect to the fact that Vanguard are so much better than Rangers, like so much better than Rangers, and they're still only 5 points different.
Yeah, and it's wild. Like at that points cost, they basically got a 16% increase in output, generally speaking, but also not just that, because now their AP gain happens anywhere, so they've got an additional 16% on top of that versus saves half the time. And then you only went up a marginal, very small amount. Like, great,
dude. So one of the games I played on the other day, I played guard into Admech. So I'm like, these guys used to be, a guard's pretty revamped, Admech's pretty revamped. They should be about the same. Man, like I was shooting Scions and Kazakin and Guardsmen and stuff into Vanguard, and then they were shooting back, and the Vanguard won pretty much every time. Same 4-up armor save on both models on my Kazakin versus the Vanguard, but a freaking invuln save for them, minus a hit to them. You all have AP1 and ignores cover against me, whereas at best I have a hotshot lasgun that has AP1. So it was just like I get a 6-up, you get or a 5-up versus a 5-up, and they are really good for 90 points. Amazing unit to build,
especially when they enable the rest of your army, right? Like they just become really, really good.
Exactly right. Like they're an integral. They are your objective scoring. They are your utility units, and they're your buff pieces. And it's just it's wild. They're also debuffers. Yeah, they're minus 1 OC as well, which I found came up. I was having to use the order to give myself +1 OC instead of giving myself plus the hit and rapid fire to not risk having objectives flipped. It was very frustrating. All right, Scorpius disintegrators, we've already talked about 175. The Dune Rider goes up a couple of points to 85. I still think it's a very good transport at 85. I still rate, especially when it got buffed with firing deck, which is
that's pretty funny.
And I'm unbelieving that it didn't have firing deck. You can literally just throw a rock at the dudes inside. They're just there.
I'm still upset it doesn't have assault ramp, because it actually has an assault ramp.
It has an assault ramp.
I mean, it wouldn't even be buffing many things. Ruststalkers move just as fast without them, but you give them assault ramp, just you cowards. Come on.
Yeah, just do it. Sidonian Dragoons with Radium Jezzails. Who even cares? Sidonian Dragoons with Taser Lancers, 70 points per model as well. So the same 210 that you're paying for your Belisarius. So they are seeking at a nice, beautiful equilibrium there. How do you rate your Dragoons?
I kind of love them. I think there's some issues where they can get targeted, but the reason that you use them isn't just for their melee. They flat advance and charge. They fall back and charge. They can fall through the enemy and reroll this for escapes, which is really good. But they also, can get access to an S tier strat with the 5-up Filter Pain. They're 10 points per wound at T7. They want to hit. They're just good units, right? Like they're just fantastic. So I think, obviously you have to make sure that you're not going to block yourself out, and that's something you need to be considerate of. And depending on your terrain layouts and where you are in the world, that can be either easier or harder than it looks. But they're good. They're genuinely a good unit. I think
I agree.
Can flat really good. Anti-Walker surprisingly is coming up so much. You have Crisis Suits that have it. You have Ghost Kills. You have a lot of things in town. Then you have Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights. You have Dread Knights for Grey Knights. There's an abundance of walkers in the game, and these guys just look at them, and you can have a T14 Knight Porphyrion, and you just look at it and go, winning on 2s, let's go.
I seriously remember reviewing the index and then the codex and being like, anti-walker, that's stupid. And now I'm like, okay, that's legit. It's actually not a joke.
It's pretty cool, man. Like it's so odd. I think even like a Stomper has walker. Doomstalkers have walker. There's actually a lot that has it. You'd be surprised. Obviously, Redemptors with that,
It's pretty good, and a lot of good units right now. You are predatoring. We have a 5-pack of characters next. I'll just go do them all together. The Sidonian Skatros, who cares, stayed at 60 points. Dominus stayed at 75. Techbris Engineer is 60 now. Manipulus is 65. They both got a bunch of buffs, and the Techno-Archaeologist stayed at 45. Any huge mix-ups there? Anything, anything changing here enough that you really want to take these characters?
No, it's just been still pretty mandatory if you're running. If you're running the breaches, Dominus is good. It's still fantastic if you're running Fog Rider Electro Priests. Skatros is just Skatros, whatever. Techno-Archaeologist is pretty fantastic that he stayed the same. Engine Series is pricey. I don't know why the heck he costs more than a regular Tech Marine.
Yeah.
But he does. That seems like an oversight to me because a Tech Marine can dish out triple the output and has a bunch of other things going for him. But that's something, I guess. I think that's scared about the pain now with all these vehicles.
Yeah, probably right. Send GW a strongly worded binary email. They'll get the message. They'll get it, mate. All right, that brings us to the end of the review. That's all the points, and we've essentially run down all of Alex's opinions on pretty much every unit by doing the points like this, which is how we wanted to do it. But my man, it's time for us to do our 2 rating systems. You, as an Admech player, and speaking on behalf of all other 9 Admech players, how happy are you with these changes out of 10? 0 being absolutely like incredulous and offended, and 10 being absolutely buoyant. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I think this is a solid 8. I'm pretty excited about it. I think they could have given some love to a few other units, but they definitely have changed quite a lot in the army. That I don't blame them for stopping at that point. It feels really good. It feels really cool. They definitely create a lot of build variety, but even detachment variety in this.
Yep, I 100% agree. I think I'd go even further. I say it's a 9 out of 10. And that's just me looking from the outside for how happy I've seen Admech players with this and how much more of their codex they get to use. It was pretty much on release. It was a 1 detachment book. So nothing changed from index to codex, except it's just a different 1 detachment. It's just you only had an index detachment before, and essentially you only had a 1 detachment then, because there was the Sikaran Skitari Veteran Cohort, whatever it was, Hunter Cohort. And nothing else touched the sides. And now it feels like so much more of the book is opened up. There's so much more experimentation you can do. It's a really exciting time. Competitively, in our competitive tier lists, where do you put Admech?
I'd say it's probably not like top 5 or anything like that out of all of them, but it's fairly up there. I think let's say we're talking about like an S, A, B, C, D ranking system, similar to what AOWdu does. I would put them as A. They put them as B. I think they're A. I've done a lot of playtesting now, and while I did initially think they were just like fine and pretty good, a lot of the strong armies just got heavily nerfed. So they feel really good. They feel like, honestly, I feel like I have a really good flex. There's surprising amounts of output that you can get. They're still very mobile and fast. They have a nice preference towards battle line. All these things are very good for the game and for them in terms of scoring. Sure, we lost the things like doing actions in combat, in advanced and actioning and all that. But hey, when we have the mobility that we have, you don't really care. That's pretty good.
Yeah, agreed. And I would not put them like lower than the top of B tier, and they would go. It'd be anywhere from B tier to the middle of A tier, and that's pretty much how I feel. I think they're like, so when you talk about the top two,
B, I think,
yeah, middle of A, top of B, somewhere between there. And the ceiling is real high now, and before the ceiling was real low.
Yeah,
like you have unit. Don't even shoot the dang thing. Just move it into a place to disrupt their scoring and hope that's enough. Because there's no point shooting your guns. They don't do anything. And now they've got real play diversity.
Yep, I agree.
All right, my man. We're going to check out of this part 1, go over and record part 2. But any parting words for the burgeoning techno thrall out there? Where should somebody start with an Admech army?
Probably like a top up on your mortgage, and then you're good to go.
If they're not Australians, that is. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, pick another army or be a millionaire.
Yeah. I mean, or just be like all the other ones, all those other 2 players that borrow them off me, right? But
Correct.
I think, look, anyone trying to start this army, I think you can't go wrong with just like a simple core. And for us, it's actually very simple now. You bring some vehicle anti-tank that ends up being quite mobile and fast while having a good range. You use them to outrange people, get flanks, get wherever you need. You need to have a core of Skitari. You're looking at always going to be a minimum of 30. You're going to have some fast pieces that are going to be either your Skystalkers or your Raiders, which work out to be exceptionally well. And then you can have some skirmishing units for the middle. That can be your Dragoons, if you really like that. That can be your Rust Stalkers, whatever it might be. You got that, you have a core, you feel really good about the game, and you can play from there.
Easy done. And on those parting positive words, we will see you over on part 2. Thank you very much to our lovely patrons for making this show possible. If you're not one of those just yet, hopefully this is enough to entice you. If not, thank you very much for your support thus far. Alex, say your good nights, mate. Let's go to the other side.
Thanks, guys.
Hold your horses, everybody. So this is a little bit of announcement for the new intros and outros that you'll be hearing on the show. After 200 odd episodes, I decided I needed a bit of a facelift, go back to my roots. And as you probably heard on the intro already by this point, I had a lovely, beautiful gent who will remain nameless come on to do a new intro voiceover for us. Bit more down under, bit more Australiana. Hopefully you guys have found that funny and or hilarious. And hopefully not the cringe-packed goodness that it probably has ended up being. I'm letting you guys know that the outros are going to be changing as well. In lieu of just having a generic outro for a show that's been going for 200 episodes, you probably know what it is by now. I don't need to tell you anymore that you were listening to Out of War Down Under or whatever. I'm actually just going to play songs. I've got a bunch of bands that I am going to be, a lot of bands of music that I loved as a child, or songs that spoke to me, that I'm going to be just chucking on the end here in lieu of an actual outro. The first of which is going to be songs by a band that my older brother was in. The band's called Days Worth, and this first song, I believe, is going to be Stay Strong, which speaks to me on a multitude of levels. Naturally, my brother, he makes music about things that's happened in his life, and we shared a lot of the same childhood, a lot of the trials and tribulations. So I'm just going to be putting on songs that speak to me for the outro music, and hopefully you guys will stick around and listen in. If you're not and it's not for you, so be it. Switch it off. See you later, alligator. But yeah, this first one, Stay Strong, is a lot about our childhoods, being there for each other, and it means a lot to me. So hopefully if you listen and you connect with it mean a lot to you too. You can definitely check out the music on Spotify and all those other places as well. The album it's off is called Can't Stay Forever, so if you want to go check it out for yourself, because there's going to be, I think, about 5 or 6 of those songs I'm going to be rotating through for the outros. So yeah, check it out. I'll have a little blurb at the end of them describing maybe what the song is about if I know. I haven't actually asked my brother in detail because it's a little bit personal, and we're not always that good at talking about our emotions, and definitely the music that he's written is laced with, our mutual emotions, some of our childhood stuff. And hopefully you guys will stick around and enjoy it. And if you do, please leave a comment, go over, check out his music. because I'm trying to support the people who support me, and definitely love my brother. Love the fact he's been able to make some incredible music that resonates with me on every level, and hopefully it does for you too. But that's enough from me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and thanks for sticking around this long. Hopefully you'll stick around another couple of minutes, check out the songs, and have a nice listen. Take care. See you later.
Oh, you know that I can take more. I'll break free from wanting to. Tangled in lust, love under the waves.